Welcome to Rediscovering Childhood podcast. I always talk about the importance of supporting our children's development and all the different skills that they need in life. But I think it's important to understand what's behind each one of those skills, to understand what they are, what they're not, and how they show up in childhood, in adulthood, to see the bigger picture. And then we can understand how we can support the development of that skill, because we understand why that skill is important. And it's not because someone is telling me, you should help your child with that, but why? And life is so busy. Let's not deny that, and let's not forget that. Life is so busy. So where should we focus? What are the priorities? How do I help my child? How do I maximize my time with my child in the most effective way? So I think if we understand the importance and the significance of each one of those skills, we will be able to support them in the best way possible. So today we're going to focus on creativity, because I think we underestimate the power of creativity and the effect that it has in our lives and how it shows up. And we do a lot of things every day, all the time, that we don't even know that's down to our own creative skills. And I think it's because the meaning behind creativity, when we hear the word creativity, we straight away, or at least I, or on a lot of the trainings that I've done, people think of drawing a nice picture and creating really cool looking activities, because that's what we've seen on social media, or that's what they made us think about creativity in school. Or maybe someone told us that we weren't good enough at art, and then we just have this trigger that when we hear creativity, straight away we want to run away from it. And actually creativity is a lot more than that, and it's a really beautiful skill to have. So it's not coloring inside the lines. Creativity is not creating a beautiful picture. It's not about the outcome. It's about the process. It's thinking outside the box. It is imagination. It is having a plan B and a plan C and a plan D, which is thinking outside the box. If something, say, problem solving. There is no problem solving without creativity. Because when we're solving a problem, it's because, why do we have a problem? It's because plan A didn't work. We encounter a situation in life, we do something about it, it didn't work, it becomes a problem. So the expectation and the reality are not the same. And then we need to come up with a solution, with another way of doing it, of fixing it, of sorting it, of solving the problem. And that's where creativity happens. That's when creativity comes into place and helps us find the best solution. So that's creativity, thinking outside the box, problem solving, and it's also imagination. Imagination allows us to visualize what will happen before it even happens. And that's why imaginative play is so important for children, because it helps them see things that are not there to see with our eyes. And it's based on their previous experience and everything that they have seen up to now, because they will build on that. Every experience builds up and it creates more connections in their brain. So then their imagination will reach further and further each time. The more experiences they have, the more imagination, because they will have more. Those experiences will help them predict what can happen if I do this, what can happen if I do that, because I've seen it before, because I've done it before. And then play is their safe space for them to practice all those things in a safe environment. And that's why play is also so important, essential for their development. Yes, we can grow up and become adults without play, but we'll struggle a lot more with real life situations, and we won't have the resilience and the tools and the resources that we could have from this positive environment. So the more opportunities we offer our children to explore, to create, to imagine, the more resilient, the more creative they will become. And that's just going to lead their path to happiness, because it's not just about having less problems and less struggles. It's about having the tools and the resources and the resilience to deal with those obstacles that we find along the way, that they're part of life. We can't avoid them. Life without problems would be really boring, but it's not about avoiding problems. It's about knowing how to solve them and then feeling proud of having overcome those challenges in life. How does creativity show up for us adults? In many different ways, depending on the area. For example, in work, in problem solving. So there is a problem in work and we solve it in a creative way. So we come up with our own ideas on how to solve that problem. That's where creativity is essential. Who wants to hire an employee that's not creative? Where you tell them to do something or you ask them if they can do something and they don't know how to do it. Because they need so many instructions, they need so much guidance that they're just not going to do the work. And you need to be on top of that, so you might as well do it yourself. So if you want to support your children in maybe having the skills to be able to go and do an interview and get a job successfully, the job that they want, or even to create their own job, entrepreneurship, it's constant creativity. It's the creation of solutions, and that's the problem solving. What do people need? What are my skills and my strengths, and how do I combine both to help other people solve their problems and fulfill their needs using my skills? And that's pure creativity. So supporting that skill for our children from a very young age is so powerful, because repetition is key when developing a skill. So the more they do it, the better they'll become at it, in a very natural and organic way that they're not even aware that they're learning. They're just having fun, because that's what play offers, learning through having fun. Teamwork. If we're part of a team in work, and I'm now in the area of workplace and how creativity shows up in the workplace, and we're part of a team and we want to maybe collaborate with other members, how do we create a project together? And it's constant problem solving, decision making. Decision making is also based on imagination. I imagine the outcome, I can predict or imagine. They're very similar terms, meaning behind the term in this particular environment. We imagine or we predict what's going to happen if I do A, what's going to happen if I do B, what's going to happen if I do C, and then I'll be able to choose what option will work best. And that is creativity and imagination together. Or design thinking and reimagining things. And again, it's down to imagination. So if a child comes with a pen and says it's a microphone, we say, no, it's a pen. Why not a microphone? That's their brain thinking and connecting. It's a similar shape. So their brain made that connection, and that will trigger an action. And that's beautiful. And that's so powerful, and has a really empowering long-term benefit and impact on our children. So encourage imagination, encourage problem solving, decision making. But we'll talk in more detail about each one of those skills, because they're all related. And the outcome of all of those skills would be independence. So seeing our children become independent human beings would be the result of mastering all of those skills, because what does being independent means they can do things by themselves, and they can be safe, and they can make mistakes. Being independent doesn't mean they're not going to make mistakes, and they're not going to choose the wrong option if there is a wrong option, because I think all options bring you somewhere. But we'll talk about that another day as well. It's about being independent, is about feeling confident in your own person and having the tools and resources to thrive and to find your way and find your happiness by yourself. Even if that means asking for help, that's also part of being independent. Because if you're not independent, you're not going to be able to ask for help. And that's another skill as well in relation to communication. So going back to creativity, how does that show up in our daily life as adults? cooking, mixing ingredients and creating a brand new recipe, or just cooking in general. That's creativity. When we add, oh, I don't have, for example, I bought a Thermomix and I'm loving it, but I've made some recipes that my bin have loved as well, straight to the bin. And one of them was meatballs, and the recipe the recipe said add 200 mils of white wine, and I didn't have white wine. So my creative thinking was, wine comes from grapes, and so does vinegar. So I added 2 mils of white vinegar. In fairness, it was white wine vinegar, so there was a relation there. Oh my goodness, the most disgusting thing I've ever tried. I was so determined to eat them. I ate 2 meatballs and I'll never forget that taste. But that's creativity, and that's making mistakes, and I am an adult and I do make mistakes, and look, there's nothing wrong with that. Now I know, and now you know. I know it looks like everybody knew when I told friends that I did that. Everybody knew that you can't do that, but look, I didn't. I'll admit that. So that's creativity, and that's how we learn. And maybe if I had some more science-based play when I was younger, or I had learned in a different way in school, making those associations, and I would have known now that you can't put vinegar instead of wine when you're cooking. But look, it's never too late to learn. Interior design, moving furniture around in the house renews the energy in the environment. It's so I don't know what word to use. I find it really refreshing, and it just brings brand new energy into the place. So that's creativity. And again, visualizing, if I put that chair over there, it's not going to fit, or if I put that chair over there, or that table here. When you're buying new furniture, or just moving things around to bring that brand new energy into your home, that's again creativity. Parenting, how do I create activities, come up with activities, and they can be so simple, because when you're parenting, simple works best, and if it's not simple, it's probably not going to work. Whether it's with playing games, setting up activities, walks outside, take your shoes off, take your socks off, barefoot outside on the grass or on the ground, dodgeball, have a little teddy and play dodgeball. It's our connection time. So simple, but just that constant creativity. What do we do? And sometimes it just comes from observing our own children, and by observing them and asking them questions, we don't need to have it all figured out. We can just ask them questions and they'll give us the answers. And they know more than we think. And it's about building that trust that we know that they know. And we know that we don't know. And it's okay. And we're learning from them as much as, or more, as they're learning from us, because they learn from the whole environment, which we already know. We're very comfortable in this environment we've built as adults, but we are new to parenting, and to parenting every single day, because as they're growing, it's like a brand new child, and it's new, and it's exciting, and it's reflecting. It's a reflection of ourselves in our children. So if we're willing to look deeper, there's so much we can learn and we can improve on ourselves because of our children. So even helping them and supporting their own creativity is going to have, it's going to bounce back to us and help us with our own creativity, which will help us in adulthood as well. Because any skill, we never end. It's not we develop a skill and we're done. We'll keep developing that skill for the rest of our lives, because our circumstances change and everything changes, and we will need it in different ways, and we will need to adapt that skill to our circumstances at every stage of our life. So we're always learning. In relationships, how we communicate, and we all, I don't know if you've heard about the 5 love languages, we all communicate love in a different way. So how do the people around us, how do our loved ones communicate, and how do they receive love, and how do I communicate how I feel in a way that won't hurt them, that's respectful, that they understand, that we can have that assertive communication together, and that will bring the outcome that I want from this conversation. It's all creativity, looking for the right words, the right communication and connection with other people. Storytelling, coming up with stories or sharing stories about what happened to us, because reality, truth, it's not exactly, when we tell a story, even if it's something that actually happened, it's not exactly what happened. It's what happened, the facts combined with how we felt when that happened, and that's our story. So as any story, there are always 2, 3, 4 sides to the story, depending on who was there. Each person will have a different story because it's connecting the facts with the emotions that you felt at that moment. And it's important to have that conversation, to be respectful for others, and the creativity on how we tell that story, the words that we use and the examples we share when we're telling a story, or the relations, like I shared with the Thermomix and the meatballs. So that was creativity. How do I give an example of something that happened in my life that reflects what I'm trying to explain? That's constant creativity when we are talking to others. Self-expression and getting to know ourselves. Our personalities, and building and creating our identity, how we dress and the clothes we choose, and how we combine our style, our hair, our clothes, our colors, our shapes, everything. That's all creativity, and it builds our own identity. Music, movement, when we're dancing, it's creativity. Will I move this way? Will I move that way? And it just comes naturally, and it's our body being creative and expressing emotions through movement. How does creativity show up in children? Imaginative play, so we talked about that when we're doing storytelling or role play, when they have their small world play, which is a little setup with figures, and they can build things. A lot of the time they know, most of the time, or even all of the time, they know exactly what they're doing. And I'm sure it happens to everybody when you try to play with your child or engage when they're playing with doll's house or dolls or dinosaurs or any sort of figures, and they ask you to play with them, or you just simply sit down there and play with them. And you do something, for example, let's say I'm bringing this doll to have a bath, and she'll tell me, no, that doll's not having a bath. They know exactly what's going on, and they have it all built up in their head. And it's because role play gives children a sense of control. They have control. They might not have control of what happens at home or their own life or where they go, the activities they do, but when they're doing role play, they have that sense of control, and everything that happens in that role play activity is based on their own decisions, and it gives them so much power in a safe and positive environment, which is really good. So the best way of interacting with our children when we play with them, when it comes to imaginary play, is to just ask questions and guide them, repeat what they say, narrate what you see, and let them guide that play activity. For example, oh, I wonder where she's going. Pick up the doll and say, just simply have this doll here. Oh, I wonder where he's going. He's wearing a jacket, and a blue jacket. She's just narrating what you see, and they'll tell you. And then you can do that. And it's a way of getting to know your child through play and through those little conversations that happen during play. It can be really, really powerful because you can discover so many things just by, and that's what happens a little bit during a play therapy session where the child plays and the therapist will ask questions. Obviously, there is a lot behind each question, and we're not coaches, we're not therapists, we're just there trying to engage with our children, but it can be really, really powerful, and our goal is not to tell our children what happens with that doll. It's important to know and remember that the goal during play is to connect with our child. So it's okay if they skip roles, it's okay if they tell you what to do with the doll. It's okay if they tell you that they need XYZ and you can go and get it and bring it back, because the goal is connection, and that's how it's built. Arts and crafts, creativity, but focus on the process, not on the results and the outcomes. Just focus on the process and what happens and how we combine colors and draw lines and what do we do, and that constant problem solving. What do I want to do? What do I need to do that, and how do I do it? And it could be independent play, it could be together. It doesn't matter. It's just that creativity. And it's so important because it will provide a space for regulation as well for the children, as play, creativity, art. It's all self-expression through movement, through sounds, through music, through art or prints or storytelling. It's all self-expression. What's in here, sometimes it's really hard to explain or how they feel, but through play it will eventually come out. And even if they are not able to tell you, it's a way of releasing those emotions, those big feelings or anything that had happened during the day. And then eventually they can either, if they have the vocabulary or the skills, they can tell you, but if not, then they'll be able to release that and regulate and then move on with their day. Now, how do we support? What are the things we can do, and what are the things that don't help? So there's things that we could do to support our children's creativity, and there are things that will have the opposite effect that we might do without even noticing, because we all try our best as parents, and sometimes we don't even realize, and we're trying to help them without realizing that that's not helping at all. So what are the things we could do, and what are the things we shouldn't probably do, or we should start noticing that we do and then try to change them? So it's not about we shouldn't do, we'll do it, but just about noticing and trying to change it. So things like saying that's not how you do it and telling them how to do it. It's more always about that coaching as a parent, or parent as a coach. Either way, asking questions. Do you think that works? Is that like if they say they put a jumper back inside out, don't tell them that's not how you put on a jumper, because you'll crush their self-esteem, their confidence, because they tried really hard maybe to put on a jumper, or maybe they picked a jumper, so they had some problem decision making. Okay, it's raining outside, so I need to wear something that can wear wet, or that's waterproof, or maybe there was some sort of reasoning or how they felt that day. They picked that jumper and they put it on backwards, inside out, and you tell them that's not how you do it. What will they do next time? They won't put it on because they tried, and you told them that this is wrong and they felt bad. Again, it's not that you shouldn't say that. It's about how we word what we say and noticing. So if we say, oh, I noticed you put on your jumper. So first tell them the good thing that they did without saying, good job, well done. It's not about good job or well done. It's about noticing what they did. So focus on the effort, which is not the outcome. It's the effort. It's the process. So I noticed you put on your jumper. That's great that you can put on your own jumper. Maybe I wonder if the picture of the jumper goes at the front or at the back, or I can't seem to see the picture of your jumper. And then they might notice, oh, it's inside out. Or they might say, I know, yeah, it's inside out, but I don't care. Okay, pick your battles. It's okay to wear an inside out jumper. It's not the end of the world. Now, if it triggers your own OCD and, you want to tell do you want me to help you put on your jumper to turn it inside out? But it's not the end of the world. But it's just an example, but it's just about how we communicate things. Or their shoes, they're in the wrong foot. Or I think it might hurt you if you wear those shoes on the wrong foot because if you walk, they're made for, you see the shape of the toes. So if you walk this way all day, it might hurt your feet. So I can help you if you want. And you have this system of putting a sticker inside and cut the sticker in half so they know for next time. But it's just about noticing and how we communicate and let them solve their own problem. Nobody likes anybody solving your problems all the time. Nobody likes that because it makes you feel really bad. Really bad. You know the word I would use here. It's really bad. Nobody likes that. When you share problems, most of the time nobody shares problems looking for solutions. They share them to just let them out. And when you communicate your ideas that are in your brain, you're putting your thoughts and feelings into words, and that requires a structure, and that helps you organize and understand your own thoughts. So that can be really beneficial for you, but it's not necessarily because you need a solution. So we just need them to listen and maybe ask questions, and then we'll come up with our own solutions. And how many times you say something, and before the other person even replies to you, you'll say, oh yeah, no, I know what to do. Yeah, no, thanks so much. And the other person's like, I didn't say anything. It's just by listening, and it helps you. So sometimes just say it out loud. It really, really helps. So that's how we should also listen to our children, and just be there guiding, but not solving every single problem. Filling every moment of their day with structure, also that doesn't allow that space for creativity and for them to just be themselves and just to be bored. And being bored is the perfect opportunity to spark creativity, because they will have to think outside the box. They will have to solve a problem, which is feeling bored. Because bored, let's not forget, it's a feeling. It's not the end of the world. Children need to be bored, because it's an opportunity, as I said, to be creative, but also to get to know themselves. Okay, I'm bored. I don't want to feel bored. I want to feel happy. I want to feel excited. I want to feel entertained. Be entertained. What do I do? What do I like? And how do I create that? And then compared with other children also doesn't help, which sometimes it's really hard not to. But just to keep it in mind, if we notice that that's not about them in comparison to other children, it's just about themselves alone, and value the process over the outcome always. So if they draw a picture, let's instead of saying, oh, well done, just say, oh, I noticed you picked lots of colors and it took you a long time, you put a lot of effort into it. Value the process instead of just the outcome. Things we can do to support our children's creativity. So the opposite of all that. So let them get bored. Allow moments of the day to just get bored, and set boundaries. And it's not about, no, we're turning off the TV now and let's do something together. What would you like to do? And they don't know. Okay, you can think about it. Maybe offer some suggestions, but let them come up with the idea. It might take a long time. It might take a cry and scream the first day, the first week, the first month, but the more they do it, the more practice they will have they will develop that creativity, and the quicker they will become coming up with ideas on what to do to fill their time. Ask open-ended questions instead of giving some very specific, or like what I said, when you play, instead of saying, oh, let's put this doll in the bath, just say, oh, where do you think he could go now? I think he has his hood up, and maybe it's because he's going outside. What do you think he's doing? Just open-ended questions where the answer could be anything. There's no right or wrong with the answers. Whether if you ask closed questions, it's either yes or no. It's either black or white. 2 + 2 make 4. It's a closed question. There's only one answer, one right answer. Everything else is wrong. With open-ended questions, there's no right or wrong. So whatever they say, and that gives them confidence as well, that no matter what they say, they got a point, and it's all about, again, that connection and communication. Give them time and space for play. Play is so important, and play is anything that brings them joy, and it is their own choice to do so. Anything at all is play. Whether if it's doing their homework, if they choose to do their homework, why would they do that? If they choose to do their homework because that they like what they have, that's play. It's their choice. And it's their choice because it brings them joy, because that's why you choose something. It's because it brings you joy. That's play. Whatever it is that is their choice and it brings them joy, it's play. So how do we create an environment where they have options and opportunities to choose from that bring them joy? That's our job. Our job is to create that environment, and their job is to choose what they want to do and what to do with it. It's not the what, it's the how. We create the what's in the environment. They create the how do I interact with this environment? And that's why setting up the right environment is very important. And encourage risky play, and taking risks. And it doesn't mean jumping off a cliff. It just means taking a risk and stepping out of their comfort zone, and maybe they're going to the shop and they're going to order something, talking to the shopkeeper and asking for something, and that's a risk, because the risk is that they will laugh at me, the risk is that they will judge me, the risk is that they won't have what I need and I'll feel embarrassed for asking something that they don't have. The risk is that I might fall walking into the shop. That's the risk. So allowing them to take risks, which is just anything that's outside of their comfort zone, and risky play and falling and making mistakes, which is the same thing in a non-physical way. Making a mistake is the non-physical approach. Just put it one way of falling. So you can fall, your body falls on the ground, get back up, they're okay, and that's okay. Well, I'll fall, I still fall sometimes, and then making mistakes because they made a choice and they solved a problem, and it didn't go according to plan. So they will now come up with plan B and plan C, and that's again creativity and flexibility, choice, and be respectful of their choices, not judging that they made the wrong choice, but appreciating that they did make a choice. So I hope you found this useful. As I said, it's how we help our children, so we can also help ourselves along the way, because we're all learning every single day from every single experience, and it all counts, it all matters, it all makes a difference.